Hey guys, let's bringing you another video and welcome to a high rating spectate. And for those that don't know, I'm going away this weekend and it's been a bit tough to actually get content. So high rating spectates I've always loved. You guys seem to find them really educational and good. And today we're focusing on Karthus. Now, of me recording this, it's definitely probably have changed by the time the video comes out. But this is actually weirdly the rank 1 player on EUS right now. There's no challenger players. Challenger is yet to be open. So this is #1 Grandmaster player currently on EUS. They seem to be absolutely popping off in a lot of games. And I noticed they're playing Karthus bot lane. Now, the question that I'm trying to answer here, meanwhile, level 1 happens. Not really sure why the Janna was so kind of in this play. Again, bit of an odd flash too, because you're never going to get away after that whole play has happened. Exhaust by Karthus. Good CC by Rel. Karthus will go down though. Severe gets a nice kill. And overall, it's not the worst play for the enemy team. Like, Tristana mid gets first blood, but had to blow flash. Karthus uses exhaust, but dies. Rel uses ignite, so that lessens their kill pressure in bot lane. And overall, you know, Severe had to use double sums. Janna had to use double sums. But Severe's usually pretty safe. But the reason why I wanted to watch this Karthus, because he has other champions as well, but he does seem to be playing a lot of Karthus, is Karthus has been nerfed in some areas to try and get him out of bot lane. He's a very strong champion bot, and for those that are like, why is Karthus strong bot? So the premise of bot lane, by base principle, in the history of League of Legends, the why, you know, well, if you really want to go back in a long time ago, there never used to be AD carry and support. It actually started to happen because it was a counter to what people used to take bot lane all the way back in pre-season 1. Anyway, since it's been the AD carry and support meta, it's basically a really vulnerable and really weak champion, the AD carry, with a support that basically, in essence, baby and a mum relationship, that the mum will protect the baby until the baby is nice and strong, and then the baby will become the power and then overtake the game. Now, Janna actually gets herself in a bad position and gets killed again, especially when you don't have flash early game. The Janna should be so safe, but unfortunately gets caught out. Rel goes for another engage. It was actually hard to see what's going over. It was a screen away. Severe obviously goes spell shield level 2, which normally you don't do, but in this case I see it's a good thing. But yeah, that basic principle of something being really weak in the early game and having something to protect them and they get to scale up. Well, what is the perfect thing for Karthus? Karthus is one of the best scaling champions in the game, but has a dreadful early game. So to have a support with him, to offer a bit of love and protection, is pretty damn good. And that's why he's so good in bot, because his weakness, and again, his damage output in early game isn't bad. His weakness is his vulnerability. When you have a support that's covering off that vulnerability, that's why he's good bot lane, you know? He's a mage, he's not an AD carry, but in a game like this, look what their comp. They have a Tristana mid. They have an AD carry. I will say, apologies if you can hear some background fumbling. Maya is under my desk right now and deciding that her tail is the be and end all. So she's actually down there chasing her tail. But anyway, early base by Karthus, Dark Seal. It's worth knowing, you know, we've spoken about it time and time again. Dark Seal is a choice on champions for 2 reasons. One, you're snowballing as an AP champion by a Dark Seal. That's the most common. But there are some champions that Dark Seal, I don't want to say it's a, well, some champions is a default. Wow, that Rel play though. Instantaneous kabam. And just to say, we're in Grandmaster, so there's no duo queue. Double kill Karthus, returns back to lane with a Dark Seal, gets 4 stacks straight away. That's amazing. That Rel, wow. And you can see Karthus is pinging Rel. Those are those pings of like, dude, well played. Because, yeah, that was absolutely incredible. Wow, I can't even remember what I was going to say because that was just bad. Oh, Dark Seal. So champions that do well buy a Dark Seal. But some champions innate in their kit, it makes sense to buy a Dark Seal more than others. Janna, believe it or not, and yes, it is not showing it this game, but Janna is one of those champions because it's actually, most of the time, hard to die on Janna. She's very good at surviving. She's very good at just getting, you know, assists and never dying. So Janna's usually a default Dark Seal champion. Soraka can be. Evelyn, we all know is. Karthus is also in that group. Why? Because if you're not playing what's called Zombie Karthus, which you shouldn't be doing, by the way. Zombie Karthus is basically Int Scion. that you basically run into a middle of a team fight on purpose to go in zombie mode, your passive. I wouldn't go for that strategy because 9 times out of 10, you're just going to feed the enemy team a bit too much. And then you, as a Karthus, he is item reliant. You might just not get enough items to then carry. It can work if, you know, each time you do it, it goes well. Enemy team go for a massive play, by the way, and it does look like it's gone very, very well for them too. Viego, I still rate Viego as a champion very highly. His kit, just by design, is just strong. But Karthus does come in for a nice, you know, return kill. He's covering off mid lane. Whoa, Orianna Ding 6 just uses ulti. Why not? Get the Karthus under half health. But this is giving Severe a completely now free farming lane phase XP, which again, you don't really want to do. But yeah, if you're playing standard Karthus, you're not inting, you're not just running in to die on purpose, you're protecting basically your KDA. You're playing normal in essence. Nice kill by Renekton. Dark Seal's a good item because if you play well, you don't die that much, you are going to collect at least the 10 stacks of Dark Seal for free because you just need a couple kills yourself and a couple good ulti assists and you'll be at the 10 stacks. And that makes it very item efficient or cost effective. So again, it's an Annie top lane, which obviously Annie top is not a thing. Why you usually see weird things like Annie top lane is usually one tricks. And if you look over there, the name of the player is Annie IRL. So it's just a one trick who obviously can't play anything else, so they're playing Annie top, even though it's not probably a good idea. So even Renekton, and I'm seeing occasional Renektons again. I love the champion, and know some people may not believe that because I've been in the last year or two a bit harsh to Renekton. I love the champion. He's so satisfying to play. His kit just makes sense. You know, when we talk about game design and kit design and how it meshes all together, I think Renekton's near enough got a perfect kit. What unfortunately lets down Renekton, obviously, is his numbers and scaling. He is a more early game centric champion, and League of Legends as a whole, it is harder on average to play early game centric champions nowadays. It just is, because if you don't snowball, a lot of the time you're the reason that your team loses. And let's be honest, everyone gets their first mythic item and it feels like it's late game a few years ago. You know, the items nowadays are strong. You get to late game faster now than basically ever before. So unless you absolutely are a beast Renekton and you win every early game and you snowball, I think it is just hard to pull him off. That sounds weird. But Karthus is now level 6. Hello, Maya. Karthus is now level 6. So he can obviously help the map. Tristana, again, we don't know the story if they pick Tristana mid in, you know, in the bounce between, oh, we've got a Karthus bot lane, so I'll go the AD carry mid, or you don't know if it might be in the other way round. Oh, they're picking Tristana mid, I'll pick Karthus bot lane. No idea. I presume one of the two has happened. You know, some people are like, oh, maybe they both just wanted to play those picks. That's possible as well. But obviously, usually, ignoring the one-trick angle, usually in the higher rating, people are quite smart. They want, overall, if you can help it, if you're not all just picking one champion, one-tricking it, you want what is a balanced team comp. And if Tristana was first picked, just went boom, I'm picking Trist, that instantly would have made the Karthus kind of go, oh, I'll pick Karthus bot then, because then we still have a mage, you're playing an AD carry, it's a balanced comp. It makes sense. So there's a big old play happening in mid. You'll notice, again, it does happen weirdly in the meta of League nowadays. Both supports are not in bot lane. So Rel and Janna are off roaming. Leaves Karthus and Severe in bot lane. Now, here's the problem I will say for the enemy team. I personally think it's more an advantage for a Karthus to be left in bot lane than a Severe. Severe's still good, don't get me wrong, she scales great, but Karthus is one of the hyper carries of League of Legends. He is one of the OG hyper carries. I can hear Maya crying, oh no. She should be fine. She probably just wants to go outside. But he's one of the OG hyper carries, and again, he also needs that level 11. Here's an ulti, big play happening in mid. Boom, Karthus gets one kill. He actually gets the Annie in top lane. He also gets an assist there. So instantly, like we mentioned earlier, he's on 9 stacks of Dark Seal straight away. He's then fighting the Severe, who with exhaust, he gets another Dark Harvest stack, gets a solo kill on Severe. Now he's up to 10 stacks of Dark Seal already. So again, this is going incredibly well for this Karthus. If I was the enemy team, you know, what could you do differently? I personally wouldn't leave a Karthus in bot lane alone Yes, your Severe is still scaling, she's free farming, but one Karthus is actually quite scary in a 1v1, as you can just see, but also, he's the champion that you want to get solo XP on. So if I was the enemy team, I would potentially, as Viego, I would camp bot lane, I'd gank bot lane, and I'd try to shut down that Karthus, because right now, he is becoming an absolute monster. I'm going to be right back, I'm going to pause, and I'm going to go let my dog out whatever she needs. So I'll be right back, and you will not see a break, because I'll edit it. Okay, I'm back. Right, where were we? So Karthus is now afforded a Leandries, which a 10-minute Leandries is pretty nice. Just put in perspective, the only other champions that have completed items are Renekton, who's obviously doing pretty good, and support. Support items obviously are not notoriously, they're cheaper. Rel getting herself a bit caught out. Managed to just survive. Viego on his way. That could be a problem for Talia. She does have flash. Didn't need it. Really nice. Again, summoners, it's always a balance between when you use them to be safe and when you actually need to use them. Obviously, if you need to use them, but here we go. So Karthus going for another all-in. What's weirding me out is he's actually quicker than the Severe, but that is because he has rushed. He just gets another solo kill. Wow. He's rushed tier 2 boots as well. He's also, you know, not even just to say he's got his mythic, he has tier 2 boots. Renekton has a mythic, no tier 2 boots. He's got pickaxe though, so he could have had. They get a kill on Orianna. Snowballing is occurring in mid lane, and this is going bad for the enemy team. So what I would say, because some people also, whenever I do these, they want me to talk about the enemy's perspective as well. They're losing. Oh, Viego's going bot. We don't be silly. Oh my god, he actually did that, but he should be dead. Yeah. Giving Karthus another kill. I wouldn't just feed Karthus kills. It technically is good because it gives Viego a shutdown and you reduce his Dark Seal stacks. So overall for a kill, it is worth it technically. But still, you are still just giving gold to a Karthus who's already doing well. But what I would say the enemy team needs to do, meanwhile Severe, by the way, spawned and died in mid lane, and she's not happy, is... And this is just for a thing on solo queue. If your current strategy is not going well and you're losing, change what you're doing. So if you notice, what's happening this game is Karthus... Oh, a lot of damage. Don't think he'll get the kill, though. Is so far this game has been basically... Top lane is being alone in top lane for the most part. The carries of bot lane being kept bot lane for the most part alone. And then it's a 3v3 mid lane. Well, the 3v3 mid overall is actually going quite good for blue team. Especially, again, Karthus hasn't even been timing his ult that well with those plays. He hasn't been needing to do it. But whenever you are even taking a 3v3 in mid lane, there is that risk of a Karthus ult coming as well. It's not going that well for the red team, sorry. Stop doing it. Because I see that all the time. I'm sure we see those teammates that they're not doing very well. They're losing the 1v1, but they keep trying to fight. They keep dying over and over again. It's players that are refusing to adapt. Is that they've got that one strategy. This is what we're doing. That's it. You see it quite often in League nowadays. I think a lot of the League player base isn't very flexible. A lot of the League player base has kind of gone into, you know, one strategy, one play style, one champion, one role, whatever it may be. And that's what they do, and they do that well, but when it doesn't go well, they have no idea what to do. So this is unfortunate, another situation of an outnumbering situation. Tristana has now joined in. Rel, though, is in trouble. Trist, obviously, is around. She's trying to do some damage. If they all survive from that situation, wow. That is incredible for blue team, and that is absolutely dreadful for red team. The fact that they had a very early 4v2 number advantage, and then yes, it was like a 4v3. The fact that he didn't get one single kill is disastrous for the enemy team. That's really bad. Meanwhile, top lane, by the way, Renekton has pressured obviously the Annie all the way to the tier 2. Stridebreaker is really smart, just to make that clear, because you may not see Stridebreaker Renekton all the time. The advantage, obviously, of Annie over Renekton is going to be range versus melee. Stridebreaker gives, obviously, an incredible slow, so it keeps Annie... For Renekton, when he gets on an Annie, he can then keep her around. He slows her, you can't get away, and, you know, she might even go Riley later, it's possible, and that's a big slow for Renekton. So it's just for Renekton to be able to stay in range. Big ulti coming through. Bam, another kill for Karthus. Annie obviously not doing too well in top lane. She's now roaming to try and make an impact, but she's roaming without an item. She hasn't got a single mythic. Oh, flash used for Viego, but then Tristus jumps. Again, they're going for it. I was going to say that the blue team probably should just focus on living, but they didn't. So double kill. Who's TP? That's Oriana TP. And Karthus will go. So a nice double kill those for Severe. I do think blue team should have backed away a little bit sooner there. They, just be happy with what you get. While this has all happened, by the way, Renekton, though, has killed tier 2. Now, as you'll know, I'm not a big fan of Hullbreaker. I call it Ball Breaker because I do think it's League's most boring item. But I do think, I'm not a big fan of split pushing on average, but I've always said I don't mind it as a strategy when it makes sense. I've always said that. You can hear me say that for like literally however long split pushing has been really strong in League now, over a year. If it makes sense, do it. You're playing Renekton, you're against an Annie, you're doing well. She's not designed in the role that she's having to then match you. Hullbreaker makes sense. Split pushing makes sense. In most games, you have a Renekton, he's not really a split pushing champion. Most of the time, Renekton actually wants to team fight. He's a good team fighter. But in a game that the enemy team has a cheese pick Annie or whatever the hell, like if they have a champion that doesn't belong, yeah, you bet your bottom dollar you should split push as Renekton because you want to abuse the fact that you're not a top laner. You cannot survive against me. That's really good, and that is smart. Yes, I'm not a fan of split pushing, but when it makes sense, weird wall, when it makes sense, do it. And it makes sense this game. It's just majority of split pushing that you see in League of Legends. It's not because it makes sense, it's because it's people's now default. Split pushing shouldn't be a default for people. It should be, oh, it makes sense to do it this game. Because most of the time when you have a really strong top laner split pushing, they would make a huge impact in a team fight. Not obviously if it's a pure split push champion. I'm not asking for a Yorick to group, obviously. But if it's even like a Camille or something, they can make a big impact in a team fight. They can lock that AD carry down or mage down that's strong with their ult and they can't get away. That's useful. And they'll just be top lane and it's like, But yeah. So Karthus, by the way, 2 items complete with tier 2 boots. Back up to 9 stacks, obviously, of... Trist... Yeah, that was Tibbers as well, by the way. Renekton going for a flank, instant kills. Karthus ult coming down, bam, big damage. Nearly kills the Viego. Karthus then flashing, but basically just getting rid of the Viego. And now they might be able, if I was the team, I would force the dragon, because right now the Viego has to go back. The moment that he goes and he's going to go get health, he's going to be running back to that dragon, and then you lose having any type of number advantage. He just based, but they do have Rift Herald. I still probably would have done that dragon. So they're using the Rift Herald. I don't know what the timer of the Rift Herald was. Potentially that would have changed what was going on. And now Viego, because it's Hextech Dragon, is coming straight back. Oh, enemy team, though. They've made a mistake, though. Well, never mind. So I wasn't expecting them just to die like that. Talia flashes over. Karthus in the middle doing so much big damage. Again, has way more items right now than he probably should. He doesn't even die right now. He gets the Janna. Holy moly. That is bad for the enemy team. Ouch. So they both obviously took that portal because it's the most direct route back to the dragon, but obviously that was, in the end, a really bad call. Yeesh. Karthus is probably going to near enough get... Well, I was going to say he might have another completed item, but he's got a large rod. I presume Death Cap is now on the horizon. Death Cap is a risky item in some ways, but if you're having an incredible game on a hyper carry, sometimes going the highest DPS, highest damage build you can go is the best thing to do. If you're playing a typical Karthus game, I'd imagine an average typical Karthus game, he may have gotten Zhonya's next because it's good for survival. You're in the middle of a team fight. It stops a Oriana ultimate. It stops a Viego jumping on your face. It's a good item. But when you're so far ahead as a hyper carry, if you ultimately just build insane amount of damage and insane amount of items, they can't deal with you because your damage is way higher than it should be at this point of the game. That's the premise. So Tristana, also Viego gets another kill, and I think Viego kills the Trist, but then they kill the Annie in bot lane or something happened. Viego, he may go for a split push angle because, again, can they win 5v5s at this point? Or even, sorry, 4v4s? Because if Renekton split pushing, can they win a 4v4 against a hyperfed Karthus? Here's the thing. remember with what Viego does, if Viego kills, let's say, this Karthus and then becomes the Karthus, he obviously doesn't get Karthus ultimate, but he becomes this Karthus. He becomes as fed as this Karthus is. He gets all of his items, he gets all of his AP. Then they potentially can win a team fight, because then he is the really fed Karthus, if they manage to kill him. Baron is now being done. Honestly, not the worst thing in the world, because again, with a Tristana, with a Karthus, they actually do it incredibly fast. And when you just kind of go, right, we're doing it. Nice, Viego couldn't get the steal. Good attempt, it's worth saying. But when you just kind of go, bam, we're doing Baron, usually, obviously, you want to do Barons when it's not risky. You want to do it when the enemy team is dead, or at least the jungler's dead, or the jungler's randomly the other side of the map. But sometimes, even if the enemy team is alive, the moment that you just go Baron, it's really hard to react to that. You know, you could be slightly out of position here or there, and you just don't have the time to react. Severe somehow... Oh, Janna... Oh, okay, Janna cast ultimate to heal the Severe. I was going to say, how the hell did Severe survive that? So now the base is being opened. Orianna bot lane for no reason whatsoever. I have no idea. Well, Hilt is probably the reason she's bot lane. Because, again, Orianna, she's definitely a team fighting mage. Quite the opposite of a split push champion. But obviously, Tilt affects a lot of people. Oh, wow. Hextech Rocket Belt Annie. And obviously, this is an Annie one-trick by the name. Uh-oh, Rel. It's an Annie one-trick, so clearly if they're doing Rocket Belt, they must be doing it for a reason. I did Rocket Belt Annie a while ago. Again, I do sometimes think, reminding everyone my Anivia, I did Rocket Belt Anivia for quite a while, and it was really good because it caught people off guard. I stopped doing that because of the durability patch. I'm pretty sure, as we all probably agree, the durability patch is long gone. The damage of the game is incredibly high again. So potentially, Rocket Belt on Anivia might actually be a good thing to do again. So I might have to give that a go. Obviously, as always, the struggle of Rocket Belt with Anivia was mana. I think with Rocket Belt, I'd still go Tier and obviously still go Seraphs, but second item. I honestly think the build would be Rocket Belt, then Shadow Flame, because of just pure damage, and then Seraphs. I think that potentially would be the combo. Anyway, Karthus goes back bot lane. I'm not blaming it at all. And, you know, some people say, oh, he's split pushing. Ish. He's pushing towards ending. But what you also want to imagine is Karthus as a champion, he also wants to get level 16. So he is making his way to go be useful and go help. You know, Talia's dead, so they can't really just run into the enemy base and end. So just using, you know, going bot lane, helping out the push, it's not a bad thing to do as well. You know, not every... It sounds dumb to say because technically it's like, oh, technically he's split pushing. I would define what Karthus doing there as not split pushing. Yes, he's by himself. Yes, he's by himself pushing, but it's not a strategy he's doing to be alone. If that makes sense. Probably not. Probably explained that really bad. Janna going down with the ulti. Karthus ultimate coming through. One thing I'll say, this Karthus, it's not a bad thing at all. He is valuing his ultimate instead of being in the combat, if you may notice. If I were to criticize anything with this Karthus' play, anything at all, and obviously it's very good. He's been incredibly accurate with the Qs. He's got solo kills in the Severe. Some of these fights, I think if he was in the middle of the fight, he'd do a lot more. He's still doing a lot because of how fed he is. But yeah, I do think he could be a little bit more involved in the actual fight, not just, oh, I'm waiting at the back and I'm just going to press R occasionally. That's my only, I'd say, if I were to say anything, yeah, just be a bit more involved. I don't know what this channel is. And here we go. Maybe, even though this is a replay, apparently the player may have heard me. He flashes in there. Doesn't manage to get to his death cap, but a very, very good performance. This, again, is currently rank 1 EOS to me, recording this in Grandmaster. And the answer I will give is, you know, is Karthus still good bot lane? Yeah. Yes, it is. I would say things went well for him this game. Weirdly, as dumb as it sounds, I think the fact that he was more in a 1v1 bot lane was actually better for him than a 2v2, because he got to have better XP, but he still got kills and assists by getting his ult. Severe doesn't get kills and assists by being bot lane alone. Sure, she gets XP, sure, she gets farm, but Karthus gets that too, and he gets the occasional kill, and he gets the occasional assist, let alone the solo kills that he got on the Severe as well. So yeah, Karthus still seems good bot lane, even though they have technically nerfed it out of bot lane. But But that's great. If you guys enjoyed, do throw a like on it, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power.